Yo, what is up everybody? OJ here and welcome to another discussion video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Metroid Prime 4 and if there's going to be a possibility of this game being at the Game Awards. So I will be discussing what I think Metroid can do later in the video: graphics, gameplay, story, presentation. I've talked about that before, but I thought I could maybe put my thoughts into more of a dedicated video about Metroid Prime 4 by itself. But can this game show up at the Game Awards? Well, we have to go back and look at the history of what Nintendo's done at the Game Awards, which they have a pretty good track record. Now, we do know that I think it started off with the whole Cranky Kong thing. Maybe that wasn't so good, but you also have to remember that Nintendo revealed The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the first actual gameplay of it, to where Miyamoto and also Anuma-san were out there playing the game in that room and everything. It was just crazy. It was just absolutely crazy to see that. So Nintendo does have a track record of bringing the big guns to the Game Awards. Also, if you look at last year, they had Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3 revealed at the Game Awards, and that was just insane. And then on top of that, they dropped DLC on the night of the Game Awards after The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year. So that was a huge presentation. That was a huge strike for Nintendo. And if you're looking at this year, I think that Nintendo could definitely bring a few big games and big announcements to the Game Awards this year. So let's start with Metroid Prime 4. All we've seen, guys, is a title screen. That is all we've seen, is a title screen for Metroid Prime 4. And that's it. Not much at all. And it's been quite some time at this point, right? So what can Nintendo do at the Game Awards to really show the new style, the new gameplay, and what Metroid Prime is going to be? Because you have to remember, guys, we're moving over from Retro Studios, a Western company, over to Bandai Namco, a Japanese company. Now, I know some people are a little bit worried about that, right? Because if you look at what they did before in the past, you have Metroid Other M. That wasn't Bandai Namco, but it was another Japanese company in Koei Tecmo. But I don't think that you should be concerned, because Koei Tecmo and Bandai Namco, those are two different companies. So they're not going to do the same thing. And I think Nintendo is well aware of kind of what happened with Metroid Other M. And that's the reason why we saw such a long gap in between releases with a new Metroid game. The last one we got was Metroid Samus Returns, which is a remake of Metroid 2. So I think going forward, Nintendo's not going to make that mistake, regardless of who they get to develop the game. And I think that whoever they get is going to do a good job. They got Mercury Steam, the Castlevania Lords of Shadow developers, to do Metroid Samus Returns, and look how good that turned out. Now they're going to have a full team with Bandai Namco, so I think everything's going to be okay. So you can put your worries aside, at least at this point. Some people do feel that Nintendo's 2018 year wasn't that great compared to 2017, but I do feel that most of them are talking about when it comes to first-party games. Third-party games wise, Nintendo was very good this year. They had a number of big releases like Crash Bandicoot, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Dragon Ball FighterZ. There was just so many great third-party games in 2018, way more than 2017. But it does seem like Nintendo could be starting off the year, or at least leading into the year, with a big reveal like they did. Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch. That was early February. I think not only can we see Metroid Prime 4 at the Game Awards, but I think that we could be getting the Bayonetta treatment when it comes to Metroid Prime 4. So they go out on stage, Reggie's there, and he almost does the same thing that he did last year. So he shows off Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 2, and Metroid Prime 3, the HD trilogy on the Nintendo Switch, and then he says, oh, we've got one more surprise. And then bam, we get that full real reveal trailer for Metroid Prime 4. And here is what I'm hoping that we see. Not what we're going to see, but I'd like the trailer to encompass these 4 things in, I guess, as short as time as possible, for a trailer to not be, I guess, too long, so a minute something or whatever it is. So graphics. You want to make sure that this game looks absolutely beautiful. If you remember, Metroid Prime on the GameCube was one of the best looking games in the 6th generation, hands down. And I think overall, if you put in frame rate with the graphics, it might be the best looking GameCube game, or the best looking 6th generation game, or performing, whatever you want to put it together, because 60 frames per second and also progressive scan back then, if you had a progressive scan TV, it just looked phenomenal. Like, there was not anything else like it that moved that quick and also looked that good. So I think with Metroid in particular, graphics have always been a staple of the franchise, and I feel that maybe that's the reason why Metroid Prime 3 Corruption didn't do as well. Some people just didn't see that jump because it looked very similar to what we saw beforehand with Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid Prime 2. So I think that with this game here, obviously you're going to see quite the jump. We're going from the Wii all the way to the Nintendo Switch, so you're going to see a jump in graphics, and I think this is really going to show that off with Bandai Namco on the case. Now next, let's move on to the gameplay. I want to see in this trailer, if they do have it at the Game Awards, what they've done to enhance the gameplay beyond the normal Metroid Prime, which is collecting energy tanks. You have your beam cannon, you get certain items or armor that you can go and do different things in different areas, backtracking. I kind of want to see what they've done to the gameplay in order to make it new and fresh, or something different. What are the abilities Samus is going to have that she didn't have before? What is the touch of Bandai Namco going to be on this game, and kind of what do they do in that area, if they do anything at all? Now, I've talked about it before, guys. I want to see some resource management. I want to see Samus be able to go on different bounty hunts. I want to see more elements to what we've seen before in the Metroid gameplay, or the Metroid Prime gameplay. So I'm hoping we get the first snippet of that at the Game Awards. Now moving on, I think that this is something that a lot of people are really interested in when it comes to Metroid. Now, me, not so much. I'm not into the Metroid lore as much as other people, but the story. I think the story is going to be one of those things that's going to be crucial to people when it comes to Metroid, because it's such an atmospheric game, and Samus is such a iconic character in her universe. She's just an iconic character overall in Nintendo's universe, more like it. And if you don't have that good story, if it does seem off or weird or whatever the case is, people are definitely gonna call Nintendo out on that, just like Metroid Other M. People honestly did not like how Samus was portrayed on there, so I don't think we're going to see that. But I think that this is going to be the most story-driven Metroid Prime game that we've ever gotten, because there wasn't really much. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, that was probably the most story-driven one. There was voice acting in that game. There was multiple different hunters. So I think that this one is even going to take that a step above with the Japanese developer on the case here. So it's going to be interesting to see how they divvy up the story, and kind of how Samus is, how much she talks, if she talks at all, and kind of what her interactions are going to be with other characters in the game. I think we can get something awesome, and we might see a snippet of that in the trailer at the Game Awards. And finally, but definitely not least, the presentation. How is all this going to be presented when it comes to just the overall package? Like, are they going to show multiple different planets if that's in there? Are they going to just show one area? Are they going to show any types of boss battles or the type of fights that you can do? And how is it going to be presented with the actual look of the game? For example, a third-person camera or first person. Is there going to be a toggle view to where you can play in third person and you can also play in first person? Just because you have to remember, guys, Japanese developers aren't super keen on first person games. That's just something that doesn't happen a lot. From what I understand, a lot of Japanese players do get a bit queasy when playing in first person, or nauseated when playing in first person compared to third person. So I don't know if it's going to be at least only first person view. So maybe they show that you can have some type of third person action in there as well. And I'll be completely honest, guys, I don't like first person jumping around. Like when you're jumping around and you can't see your feet and stuff like that, which Metroid Prime does, by the way, where you're like kind of platforming sometimes in first person and you can't see your feet at all. I don't like that. So I would really love the option, at least when it comes to some of the platforming or maneuvering through certain stages, that you can go into third person and you can jump and actually see your feet so you could know where you are spatially. I know you can, and you can get by, and I know that it's not hard, and some of them they have like little grapple ledges to where you can hold on as well, but it would just be nice if there was a third person mode in this game as well. And I think that it would do a lot better in Japan if there was a third person mode. Like honestly, I think the game would do so much better because Metroid Prime has never been big in Japan, and I think the first person view is part of the reason why. So if they put in a third person view as well, I think that would really help with the presentation and everything. And I'm hoping that the Game Awards encompasses all the different things that I talked about here with the graphics, gameplay, story, and presentation here. So what do you guys think about Metroid Prime 4 potentially being at the Game Awards? What are some enhancements, or what would you like to see in the trailer if it does show up? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet, in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you, Ninja, for the next video. Peace.